Focus today is about building the right team, something you may not think of initially because you're thinking about just the business model itself, but hopefully as you watch this video, you'll see that you really can't do it alone. Speaking of which, this is the title for this slide here. Although it may seem easier to do it by yourself, that is unfortunately thinking short-term and small scale certainly would limit your ability to make positive impacts. Also important is to balance your limitations with others' skills and passions. Starting a business, the early stages of ideation and refinement, of planning, of strategy, those can be different skill sets from execution and operations and sales and marketing and so forth. It'd be rare that one individual or a few individuals really could have all the skill sets needed. And I know for me, I don't like to do certain things. Thankfully, I have partners and teammates who do love to do those things and do them very, very well. These two books are just great ways to learn more about your strengths and weaknesses, most importantly, your strengths, and also that of your team. I would encourage you to buy these books for your team. Each come with a code, which then you take online to a website, enter your code, and take a 20-minute test. They're all backed by millions of data points with other test respondents to arrive at your top strengths or skills. The other point I want to make is that in many cultures, the focus is on how do you improve your weaknesses. Certainly, that's something reinforced through organized schooling. My boy, one of my favorite kind of mentors, authors out there, Tim Ferriss, has said, if you want to kind of grow in business, the way to do it is to grow through multiplication, and that is to focus on your strengths. Instead, if you want to focus on improving your weaknesses while you focus on strengths or have less focus on strengths, then you grow your business and or personally, frankly, through arithmetic, simple addition. So anyway, keep that in mind. Again, I would encourage you to buy these books, take these tests. I did and learned a lot in the process. Here is one list of strengths from one of those books. So, put into, 4 general categories: executing, influencing, relationship building, and strategic thinking. With each of these strengths, there comes a description in the book about, things, roles, for example, situations in which you or your teammates would excel, and also some limitations. I know for me, if I think back, it's been a couple of years, maybe longer. Most of mine were in the strategic thinking category. So again, helpful early on for sure, but having others with strengths in the, say, executing area is key in my case. Sharing the pie. So here's a counterintuitive truth. In order to create a company with greater value and more impact, you need to share the wealth. Now that lesson doesn't come easy to everyone, and certainly there were plenty of iterations and lots of rumination on my part many years ago when deciding this with my co-founder. But just here's a quick little illustration. Think about your ownership, right? Percentage of the company on the far left, from 100% down to a much lower percentage. Now consider the varying company values. This doesn't always, of course, work out in this direction, but in theory, more people, more contributions, more value, etc., and the company is worth more. Again, does not have to work out in this direction, but if it did, and you look at the far right column, your portion of the pie increases dramatically, even though your ownership portion is a smaller percentage. Now look, what's not discussed here, of course, is control, right? Control over major decisions, who has veto power, who needs to kind of weigh in on what level of decisions, budget or otherwise. So that's important as well. But I'll leave that at this point for this kind of more introductory course. We'll leave that where it is for now. Do you hire for cultural fit or for raw ability, right? Intellectual firepower, let's say. Yes is the answer. Of course, you want both. But I'll just say that fit is a requirement and not an option. Said differently, I'm going to go to the bottom bullet here. Entrepreneurs often build companies to design their ideal world. And so you can't let bad hires ruin that. Now for the middle, this is really important. Jobs can change quickly. That is to say, your business model can change dramatically, and so you may need to learn different skills. People can learn new skills. I certainly have been at the same company in the past, and my job title and role changed considerably, but thankfully, I was the right cultural fit for those organizations, and so it was in everyone's interest to let me and others like me to change titles and roles as the company's focus changed. Again, people don't change frequently, although the business model can. Here a quote from Ryan Alice, a fellow North Carolinian from Chapel Hill and founder of iContact. Says a business is only a job until your firm is making money while you're sleeping. Again, highlighting the importance of building a team in order to build a business. So what are some key conclusions? Well, first, strange as it may seem, giving up some of the economic benefit initially can create greater financial and environmental or social rewards later. Second, as I said, know thyself, right? And often we think we do know ourselves, but frequently that's not the case. There's always more to learn about ourselves. That is certainly true for me. More importantly, it's hard to know others. So that's where personality and strengths test can come in. Have your team take tests. I think that may seem strange as a first part of coming into a company, but look, I know of very successful investment firms where they require many other tests, including cognitive, intellectual, analytical skills beyond personality. Know your team, know the strengths and weaknesses, and match teammates accordingly to increase your odds of success. Finally, seek to build an enterprise, big or small, by the way, not a job. A classic read on this topic is The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. So take a look, and he tells us it's kind of in a story format, which makes it an easy and informative read. Finally, questions for you. So please, again, after I read through these, pause, get your pen and paper, and really digest this information. Number one there, how are you vetting your new team members today? And what can you change based on this video? Number two, are you creating business systems that will be run by other team members at some point? Or do you plan to do everything yourself? Now, there's, of course, an answer I want you to give, but that may not be the answer you're giving. So hopefully this is good food for thought. Finally, what are your greatest strengths and weaknesses, and how will you hire people to compensate for the latter? That is, to compensate for your weaknesses. And I don't care how accomplished and successful and capable you are, you do have weaknesses. So find people to balance those out. All right, with that,